Hey there friends and enemies, JoPa here again, and today I want to show off my Strand Titan build that I'll be using to take on all the different Grandmaster Nightfalls in Destiny 2 Season of the Wish. And this build is very versatile. It has really good DPS, it's got good survivability, and I think pretty much any Titan main can use this to great effect, even if you're playing with randoms using like Fireteam Finder or something like that to take on the Nightfall. It is very, very good in my opinion. It all starts with the Polaris Lance. This exotic scout rifle has really seen a return to prominence this season because of the artifact mods. Now, it has the intrinsic trait, the perfect fit. Precision hits return ammo to the mag. Landing 4 precision hits loads a delayed solar explosive round for your next shot. It also has the catalyst, which adds Dragonfly. Again, precision kills, creates an elemental damage explosion. That's nice. It's already pretty solid. It helps you stay at range and just do continuous damage to heavier enemies and Grandmasters already. But then you combine it with the current season artifact perks and it just gets really crazy. So first off, you have Kindling Trigger. Radiant causes solar weapons to apply Scorch to unscorched combatants. Add that to Flint Striker. Rapid solar weapon precision hits, that's important. And solar weapon final blows grants Radiant. You don't need to get kills with this in order to become Radiant. If you are tagging a champion with precision hits, you will become Radiant. If you're tagging a boss with precision hits, you don't have to kill it to become Radiant. So you'll become Radiant and then you'll generate the explosions as well, which is awesome. And then you'll also add that to raise the precision. While Radiant solar precision final blows cause combatants to ignite. I'm also going to run Argent Ordnance when I'm running a rocket launcher. The only change that I'll ever make to this build is going to be the heavy weapon, depending on what my teammates want to do for boss damage. Some of the times they want to do a sword strat or rocket launcher strat, so that'll be the only adjustment that I will make from time to time. But then also you have Torch, which is really handy. While Radiant deal increased weapon damage to combatants affected by Strand and Stasis debuffs. Because I am running a Strand subclass, I'm going to be suspending targets very consistently and debuffing them like that all the time. I'm also going to have blast radius if I want to, and then you can change these around otherwise, but yeah, those are the main ones that you're really going to want to focus on. As far as the other weapons, I am going to consistently run the Malicious Birthright. This is my best grenade launcher with disorienting grenades. Blinding enemies helps keep them alive. That's one of the reasons I like this build so much. Between the suspend for Strand and also the disorienting grenades, I am able to ensure that my teammates aren't getting shot as much. So if you're playing with randoms, it will help keep them alive, not through healing, but just making sure that they aren't getting shot by as many enemies, which is very, very helpful. Then you can change this for whatever grenade launcher you have with disorienting grenades. It'll work just fine. Like I said, Polaris Lance is the best PvE Grandmaster exotic in the game right now, in my personal opinion. And then I'm also running something like the Hothead. You can run Apex Predator, and then for the Lake of Shadows boss, we actually were running a sword strat for a little bit with a couple teammates, and then I was running Fallen Guillotine, and that works really very well with Banner of War. But you can swap those out. It just depends on what you're doing. But the rocket or the sword are probably going to be the two primary ones that I use. You can also throw on a machine gun depending on, like I said, what the boss is. If there's damage gating and all that kind of good stuff. That's the only change that I'll ever make to this build throughout this season. As far as the subclass, I do have on the Rally Barricade to get this back as quickly as possible. Shackle Grenade so I can suspend more targets. This is very handy, especially at a distance. Banner of War, this is one that might surprise people. I run this whether I'm running a sword or not, but all it takes is one finisher or a couple kills with melee, and then you will get your Banner of War procced. And then from there, you can get kills with your Polaris Lance, and it will extend the Banner of War. You don't need to continue getting melee kills in order to extend the Banner of War healing. So that's one of the things that I'll jump right in. One of the first enemies that I come across, I'll try to finish, and then I'll get Banner of War procced and go from there. Drenger's Lash, I'm running the Abeyant Leap for this to suspend as many targets as possible, so I'm going to want Drenger's Lash. That's very, very handy. As far as the Fragments, Thread of Mind, this will generate my class ability back a ton while I'm suspending enemies. the Threat of Warning, become overpowered against Woven Mail. I'll be getting Woven Mail pretty consistently anyway, but this also helps out as well. And then defeating suspended targets creates an overpower for Wisdom. And then finally Continuity, just to suspend for longer. I also, when I have a teammate running Wishkeeper and this build, it's absolutely hilarious because there's so much suspending alongside the explosions from Polaris Lance. It is hilarious. As far as the exotic, like I said, I am using a Bayonet Leap to gain Woven Mail when suspending targets, which is very frequently, and then also the additional projectiles for Dranger's Lash. As far as the mods, I am running Heavy Ammo Finder, Kinetic Siphon, and Solar Siphon. Then we've got Solar Loader, Bolstering Detonation, and Fastball. Void Damage, Arc Damage, Resist, and then reserves for whatever your heavy weapon is. The resists really depend on what Nightfall you're running, what week it is. So match those whatever threat is the highest for the Grandmaster. Better Already, I like running that for the additional healing, and then the Weapon Surge that matches your heavy weapon. And then finally Distribution Outreach and Time Dilation. The gameplay loop for this is pretty straightforward. You're going to want to initiate combat with a Suspend or Disorienting Grenade. Either of those are going to take some enemies out of combat. Once you do that, then you're going to start pinging enemies as often as possible with your Polaris Lance. And in a lot of the Nightfalls, you will find areas where you can kind of hang back and just absolutely decimate them with the Polaris Lance over time. Like a very, very simple gameplay style. Not the most exciting jump in, use a SMG or anything like that, but it's very effective for this type of content. So if you're not somebody who normally does Grandmasters, but you want to attempt them, this is a great build to start with that will keep you alive and also allow you to play a little bit more conservatively and also allow you to play with randoms and not burn through lives. Oftentimes when you're playing with people you don't normally play with, mistakes can happen, people can lose lives and waste revives, and you want to make sure that you're not doing that in order to help the team as much as possible. And that's why this build, I think, is very, very effective overall. Now, other than that, some tips. Again, pay attention to what your teammates are running for heavy strat. You don't want one rocket and then two swords, because then you might be trying different strategies. You're going to be all over the place in the boss room, and it can be very difficult to do proper DPS and stay alive and determine who's running a well of radiance or how you're going to keep that survivability. But for me, the Banner of War is very, very nice because it does allow me, when I'm getting shot by a lot of enemies at one time, especially if I have max stacks, it allows me to stay alive in the heat of combat. So during one of my Lake of Shadows runs, we were running the sword strat, and then we did a heavy chunk of DPS. My teammates both died despite being in a well, and so I was able to pop my super, res both of them, and continue doing damage at the same time, while also clearing adds who were nearby, and it was just insanely effective. And then we were able to get the clear very quickly in the boss fight. The boss room took all of about a minute in order to get from full health down to none. So that was definitely something that I would highly recommend trying out. That sword strat, it just takes a lot longer throughout the rest of the strike because you aren't running a rocket or machine gun or anything like that. Anyway, for the rest of the Nightfalls, I'll definitely have guides and builds specifically for them, but this is one that I think no matter what Nightfall you're running, this will be very, very effective, and I highly recommend trying it out, seeing if it works for you, and seeing how well it works with teammates who you've played a long time with versus teammates who you're playing with for the first time. So that's something that I definitely think people should try out. Anyway, let me know what you guys think of the build in the comments down below. My name is Jopa. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, helps me out tremendously, shows you want to see more Destiny 2 content from me going forward. Have a good one, and I'll catch you all later.